So the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about how swords of prayer, prayers of self-negation and frustration, they kill the close and revealed enemy, which are the internal negative forces of the human inclination. This is openly an adversary. And the bowstring and arrow is what, supplications of submission and self-nullification, that targets the distant hidden enemy. These would be the foreign negative forces of human inclination. These are the secret schemers. So we have the secret schemers, they're foreign negative forces of the human inclination. They're like the distant hidden enemy. We need submission, self-nullification, versus the openly adversary, the internal negative forces of the human inclination. This is the close revealed enemy. We need self-negation and prostration. This we learned from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There is a biochemist, William Frey, and he studied tears. And this is because, when we're really praying like this, it's very common that we cry. And he studied in the 1980s tears, and he studied, first of all, the tears of like when you're cutting onions, or when you are exposed to some toxin in the ear, or when you're even just very tired and your eyes start to tear, versus emotional tears. And the difference was that emotional tears contain specifically leucine and enkephalin. This is a painkiller, natural opioid peptide. It has various effects in the body. It sedates, regulates, and restores balance. And it both cleanses and softens, and also drains and relieves. And, when I was thinking about 2025, saying goodbye to 2025, I was thinking about how, I was ready to not let the people hide under my wings of innocence. There was the first boyfriend I had. There was a man this past year who I was involved with. There was a friend of mine, her mom. There was my mom. And I was proud of myself also for learning how to compromise in like a balanced way. So not only was it wasn't like all or nothing. It was like, I don't need other people to be innocent at my expense. So I've been looking at like that kind of thing, and I was proud of myself for cultivating the honesty, respect, compassion, and responsibility that I was working on. And I was grateful to Hashem for blessing me with love and peace and guidance and protection. And in 2026, I was like, I'll do my part with Hashem's help to become generous, balanced, and private, and whole, and patient. And I asked Hashem to bless me with motivation, solutions, and self-confidence. I wanted to talk a little bit about men and women now, because for me, this is where a lot of my prayers are around. My experiences with men, my longings, or my loneliness. And, the reason I let people stay under my wings of innocence was because I didn't want to be alone. So in not doing that, I've had to face it. So I just, what I thought was really funny was there's on Instagram, there's an account called Scouse_SCOUSE and Magram, like excuse ma and then gram. And she says there's a lot of ways you could tell a man without like lashing out that you're displeased, in a way that's kind of funny, like your fragility is most relieving, or you may continue alone, or I see you've mistaken discomfort for injustice, or I fail to perceive the substance of this discourse, or you appear most committed to the sound of your own voice, or accountability appears beyond your current capacity, or this conversation has reached its natural demise. I take my leave of this foolishness, or you have alas failed to impress me in any meaningful regard. Or I shall not be lowering my standards to accommodate your shortcomings, or your confidence far exceeds your demonstrated performance, or I should hate to deprive another woman of discovering your limitations. Kindly direct your attention towards a lady more tolerant of disappointment, or I fear you have vastly overestimated your contributions. And then let's get like more into it, like, if we're thinking about king, queen, like, so there's another Instagram account called empowered.by.erica, ERYKA. And this is about spotting a king or a queen. So let's say like, as we become more of our own king and queen versions of ourselves. So I'll go first through the king. A king would be somebody who growth over gratification, knows and owns their darkness, consciously transmutes shadows, learning sexual discipline, is present, emotionally composed, heart-led, emotional intelligence, and emotionally safe space, driven by a higher purpose, devoted to the divine, a giver, service-oriented. He's his own man, spiritually like rebellious, but not really rebellious, just not going along with just cause. Doesn't seek validation from the village, in other words. Respects and protects the feminine, grounded in family values and health consciousness. Mature communication and language, knows inner value, and is honest honorable, humble, and empathetic. A queen owns the dark and the light feminine, devoted to the divine, treats the body as a temple, owns sacred sexuality, consciously transmutes trauma, and is guided by intuition, knows the intrinsic divine worth of herself, and driven by nurturing spirit. A portal of wisdom and compassion, as wise as a serpent and pure as a dove, and does not use this seduction to manipulate men. She's receptive and creative, humble and honest, emotionally regulated and self-aware, health-conscious and disciplined, and stands in truth, honoring her body, and upholds standards and boundaries. And I should say me, because I'm a queen. And finally, I think a big part of this, would be a rageless body. So I came up with a few things because, let's be real. I haven't had only bad experiences from men. And in fact, I love that some men, they have such healing, like the kings that I've met have been so good to me. And, I was learning about what I get from men that I like. So consideration, the will to pleasure, to please me, eye contact. And when I was thinking of when I used to smoke weed, what was I even getting from it? I was maybe afraid of getting hurt from a man, so I would smoke weed or other things, anything. People use food and so on. So I realized it would take away my shame, and I felt this inner listening, this awareness and clarity, optimism and pain relief. And when it comes to a rageless body, this is something that came up because I was in conversation with someone of how do we get the rage out of the body so that we're in control as kings and queens, right? So I use a whole lot of things to get rage out of my body. Prayers, mantras, renewing my relationship with Hashem, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, singing and dancing, and instruments and grieving, and stretching and self-massage, and journaling and meditating and hobbies. Learning, growing, expanding with Torah, discipline, practice, work, art, rituals, gratitude, exercise or movement, sleep and breath, and skin and mouth hygiene, good smells, socializing, mindfulness of food consumption. And I want to finish with two things. One is Zohar. There was a chapter from Pinchas. And it says that a person in the first reincarnation is white, and the second is red, and the third is green, matching the Yud and the Hey and the Vav. The first three letters of the Tetragrammaton name is all included, and everything is included within. So there's a word, which is all included in Tiferes. Tiferes is the between Chesed and Gvura. It's the middle column, and in an embodied self, and it's symbolized by Jacob, the forefather Yaakov, and then all the children of Jacob, all the tribes were called the children of Israel, or the Bnei Yisrael. So his other name was Israel, and it says, Jacob shall now not be ashamed. Jacob shall not now be ashamed, neither shall his face now wax pale. That's from Isaiah, yeshayahu 29:22. And that's because the chariot shouldn't journey with the evil inclination, which is the serpent, nor with any other type of evil beast. And then there's Hoshea 12:5. And he says, the tree takes root, grows, gives good fruits. He says, and he strove with an angel and prevailed. So we know that this tree, from the Zohar, it's talking about the tree takes root and grows and gives good fruits, because a man is called a tree. He's in this secret, a tree planted in a place where it doesn't bear fruit. So one could remove it and replant it elsewhere. A man is not considered barren until he is replanted in Eretz Yisrael, and there tries to make a woman conceive. They actually say that. And then finally we have Shifra Frey. She is a coach, and she says, parenting through entitlement requires the right tools for guiding someone to more gratitude, respect, and maturity, and rebuilding the connection you both want. So you have to be able to talk about wants and needs and help the person understand the difference between them, the wants and the needs. You don't have to say yes to everything. Saying no with confidence teaches important life lessons. And we could also be self-parenting. The reason that I love what she teaches is because I'm also parenting my inner self, to become more grateful, mature, respectful, and to rebuild the connection I want, and to be guided to learn the difference between needs and wants. So I don't feel I'm not getting my needs met when it's a want, and when it's a want, I don't worry that it's a need. And number 2, let them earn it. This builds ownership and appreciation and resilience. For example, it could be extra privileges, or the car, or a new dress. Then 3, model gratitude. Let them hear you say things like, I'm so thankful for what we have. It may seem small, but these repeated moments like this help shift the mindset over time. And I know this from my gratitude practice. And stay consistent with boundaries. It's normal when teens push back, but consistency teaches them that you mean what you say, and that you're parenting from strength, not guilt. So let's say you say, like, we'll have to do like a boundary on phones at a certain time. You have to do it, and it will help them, even if you feel like the mean one. And we're going to stop here. And although I really want to do one more thing, I will. There's a woman named Sippy. She has an Instagram account called Sapasana. And it's about begging. She says, I guess we'll do two more things because there's also one more thing. Since we're anyway talking about relationships and all that. So she says, it doesn't always look dramatic when you beg, although sometimes it does. Over-explaining, shutting down, screaming, etc. Underneath is, please see me, please understand what matters to me. And when we start to beg in communication, it's often the moment that connection is already strained because we're trying to get met from a place of urgency instead of grounded self-connection. In this work, we learn to slow the moment down and we learn to notice what's happening inside us before we push harder. When we beg to be heard, we're usually not asking for agreement. We're asking to be seen. We can ask ourselves, what am I needing right now? What am I hoping the other person will understand? When we can name it in clarity, words change, tones shift, and sometimes conversation does too, and sometimes it doesn't. But at least we're not begging, we're standing in our truth, and that's the shift, creating deeper understanding with ourselves and with others. And the last thing I want to share is the 8 green flags of emotionally intelligent people, according to Dr. Constantine with a K. So Konstantine Bisbikos. 1, respects boundaries. 2, safe communicator. 3, accountable adult. 4, emotionally honest. 5, consistency. 6, calm in conflict. 7, supportive and celebrates partners, friends. And 8 is growth oriented and self-aware. So yep, I'm so happy that I was able to share all that. And may we really grow our way into rageless bodies and really and be the kings and queens without having to beg, and be grateful and be emotionally intelligent. All right, bye-bye.